What up, what up, what up, Facebook fam? This is your girl. And guess what? Today is Tuesday. And guess what? It's wife chat time. And I am so excited to be talking about our subject today. I had a couple of women that came and wanted to talk about how to tell if your husband is dealing with depression. Hey, Sonia. Hey, Nikki, how you guys? Thank you so much for joining me. This topic is one that I deal with a lot with my practice as I coach wives. And so thank you guys so much for joining me. And please, tell some other women to come jump in on Wife Chat. We're going to talk about depression and how to really tell if your husband is dealing with depression. A lot of times we as women, thank you guys so much for hopping on. Thank you so much. Please share and tell all the wives that Wives Chat is popping off at 8 o'clock every Tuesday. Thank you guys so much for joining me. But this topic that we're going to discuss today about depression is something that needs to be discussed a little bit more. We as women, talk about our issues a little bit more open and honest. And just to let you guys know, for you guys that know, I'm writing a book, and it'll be my 7th book. And I'm going to be talking about male sexual health. And I'm going to cover male's depression in the book as well, because I believe it's so important. And we have so many men that are depressed, and we don't really know what is going on with them. And as I dove into research, I did an extensive research. I talked to some urologists. I talked to some family practitioners. I talked to so many resources to put this book together. And so my prayer is that it's going to bless so many women around the world, especially when we're dealing with our male sexual health. So look for that coming. You guys, thank you so much for joining me on Wife Chat tonight. I'm super excited about our topic. Please go share it. Like I said, I'll be doing Wife Chat live every single Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so tonight our topic is male depression. And I will tell you, I had some women who I'm coaching right now, and they just didn't understand what was going on with their husbands. And they didn't, they just like, he's just not acting right. He's, very short. He's distant. All of those things are signs of depression, not just for men, but mainly for women. With women, we're more talkative, and then we kind of we shut down. With men, the symptoms are very, very different. And so I'm going to go through some of them, not all of them, but again, it's getting really, really critical as men are under more pressure to perform at work. They're, as at home, they have more demands. They don't really use their friends and their networks as outlets, so they harbor more than we do. Because as women, we will get on the phone and we will, discuss our situations with our good girlfriends. We will open our mouths and say, I'm just not feeling right. We will go to our primary care physicians and say, I'm not feeling good. Something's not right. Maybe I need hormones. Am I in menopause or whatever? We will go find the help. Men, to get them to go to the doctor is like, pulling teeth. And depression is real. Depression is something that can be handled and dealt with. And so again, I thank you guys so much for hopping on here. And so I'm going to get started on our teaching. And the first thing is to really, really be tuned in to your husband. And a lot of us are so busy and we're so tired, and I get it, because trust and believe me, today was a day from hell, and for me, because I'm dealing with a lot of things that I'm taking care of in Texas and some other things. But anyway, I was just so tired, and Gail was like, Gail, do you really want to, hold this class? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to hold this class. I said, but I'm going to press through it. But, with me, I knew I was going to get on here and be able to chat with my girlfriends and tell y'all I'm tired. I got a lot on my plate, but I'm able to voice that. Now, when my husband has a very taxing day, he doesn't display it. He's not going to talk about it. I have to basically drag it out of him. And sometimes it's to the point where we get in an argument because I'm I'm thinking of trying to help him, and really I'm irritating him. And so those are some of the signs that he is struggling or he's stressed out. And so the first thing is, if your husband is dealing with depression, he is probably either sleeping too much or he's not sleeping enough. And again, you have to tune into some of these things. And I understand you're busy. I understand you're working, you're entrepreneurs, you're probably dealing with children, probably dealing with, elderly parent. I mean, you can be dealing with so many different things. But remember, your spouse is your first priority in your first ministry. And so just kind of tune in to see if he's sleeping a whole lot more than normal, or if he's not sleeping enough. That's the first sign of depression. And we display that as well as women, but for them, for the most part, men are not, unless it's like the weekend or they've been sick or something like that. Men most of the time will get their bare minimum of sleep that they need to function, and they're good. But if they're either sleeping way too much and it's hard to wake them or stir them, or if they are, walking around and not sleeping at all, that is the very first sign. And it's something very, very serious, because when they're not sleeping enough, of course, other things can be going on in their body. The second thing is if they're complaining a whole lot about backaches or stomach aches. And you're like, what does that have to do with it? A lot of time when they are having backaches and stomach aches, when you're depressed and you're not sleeping enough, of course you're not taking in enough fluids, you can develop constipation and you can develop ulcers from being depressed. And so that is another sign. If they keep talking about my back is aching and I don't know why, because I haven't lifted anything, I haven't, I haven't done anything, I haven't pulled anything or anything like that, or if they keep saying every time they eat that their stomach's hurting, that is another sign of depression. Even though you're thinking depression is all mental, it can become from the mental and become physical in your body as well. And if anybody on here as a woman has experienced depression, right? Whether it's postpartum depression or you deal and struggle with depression, one of those things is very evident. And another sign is if they're also complaining all the time about headaches, because headaches is another sign. Having headaches is not normal. And I will tell you, I used to suffer really bad from migraine headaches. And one of the signs for me was not that I was depressed, I was stressed, right? I was just overly stressed. And so I would have headaches really bad. And some of those symptoms are the same when it becomes for depression. So the first thing is if he's sleeping a whole lot, or he's not sleeping enough, or if he's complaining about stomach aches or back aches. And I know you're like, really? Yeah, these are clinical things that I'm giving you. The third thing is if he's super irritable. Now, everybody has a bad day. Everybody can be short. Everybody can be irritable if you're not feeling well, all the things, life is happening. But if they are constantly irritable and just everything is getting on their nerves, that is a sign of depression for men. And like I said, I know you guys are listening, but if you have any questions, if you have any experiences or any of these things are ringing true, put them in the chat. Because again, I'm on here to chat with you guys. I'm going to give you some information, but I'm be open to answer questions as well. And so, and if you don't want to ask the question or make your comments personally, you can definitely Facebook me, in a private message, and I will definitely get back to you after I get off of here. The other thing for men is displaced anger and hostility. Anger and hostility towards you, anger and hostility towards life, anger and hostility towards his friends, anger and anything that just sets him off that is not normal, right? Because for most men, they're not animated and loud and boisterous. Most men are kind of laid back or whatever, unless you push their buttons and unless you push them there. But if they are angry and hostile towards every single thing that you say, do, or towards the children, or everything in their life is negative, that is a sign that they're depressed. And I'm giving you the signs, but I'm going to give you some ways to help your husband realize that he's depressed and help him get some help. Because a lot of times depression is like an ebb and flow. Sometimes people can come out of it on their own, but sometimes people actually need some assistance. And I know for a fact, trying to get a man to the doctor is like pulling teeth. You would rather just pluck your own tooth out than to have that conversation. But I will tell you this, you cannot continue to allow this to happen, because suicide is on the rise like nobody's business, and especially with teens and with men. Right? Because again, they don't use the outlets like we use the outlets, like our girlfriends, our co-workers. We will go see a counselor. We will go see a coach. We will do anything to make ourselves feel better. We'll go see our physician saying, I'm just not feeling right. My body's just sluggish. What is it? Run some tests or whatever. We will seek information. But for the most part, most men are not going to seek that type of knowledge unless you guide them. Unless they're, super, super sick where there's nothing else, nothing else they can do but go to the doctor. But for the most part, they try to deal with it on their own. And I call that the Superman syndrome, because most men grew up with, a mother or father or, society telling them, suck it up, don't be weak, just deal with it, that kind of attitude. But then that makes grown men that don't know how to ask for help. And so those are some signs. The fifth thing is stress and grinding of the teeth. Now, I know for a fact that a lot of times when you're asleep, you probably don't even pay attention to what's going on with your husband. If your husband is grinding his teeth at night, and you should be, when a person grinds their teeth at night, you can actually hear it, right? And that is a sign of depression and stress. And mainly that's stress to a high level where somebody's actually grinding their teeth. And if they're grinding their teeth and they continue to do it, it can cause them so many different health problems. It could cause them to have TMJ. It could cause them to get migraine headaches. It can cause them their bite to get off, and then their mouth begins to ache all the time, and they don't really know what's going on. And so again, it's really being tuned into your husband and knowing how he used to be, right, and how he is now. And you have to follow this path, right? And again, I understand that you're busy. I understand that you're overwhelmed. I understand all of those things, because trust and believe me, sometimes that's like, I barely even look at Gail, and I'm just being honest with you. But, I had to realize that in order for me to be a good wife, and for me to make sure that Gil is going to be on this journey until death do us part, right? That he's got to take care of me, and I got to take care of him. And so when I begin to see the signs of depression, and again, I haven't always did a study on this, but when I started seeing some of the signs of depression, I'm able to identify it, and I'm able to say, hey, Gail, this weekend, don't do X, Y, and Z. I got it, right? I'm going to take this off your plate because you had a rough week, and I hear that you're stressed. I see that you're stressed. And he's like, what do you mean I'm stressed? I'm like, well, you're being very short. You're getting angry about stuff that normally wouldn't bother you. So let's take a chill pill, right? Because again, I don't want him to get where he's clinically depressed and I can't pull him out of that situation or help him out of that situation. Another sign of depression is anxiety, being anxious. And most men, the study that I read about anxiety and depression, 76% of men have anxiety due to not being able to provide and cover all the expectations that they feel they should be covering as a man in their household. Even if they're not a man of God, even if they're not working at this time, most men want to be able to provide for their families. That is one of the number one things that most men set out to do, to be able to provide for their families, for their wives, their children. They want to be able to travel. They want to be able to give you the things that you desire. And when that is not happening, that leads to great anxiety, stress, a lack of all of the depression. It leads to a lot of different things. And a lot of men right now are out of work. I know what the statistics say, that, there's more people working in America than ever. That's not always true. It's true for a certain class of people, but it's not true across the board. And so 78% is a high percentage of men that are walking around with anxiety, either anxious that their jobs are not secure, anxious that they're not making enough money to meet all the family's needs, anxious, having anxiety that they're not meeting your expectations. And I don't care how much your husband said he doesn't care, how much he's doing the best he can. Inside of him, the true man that's inside of him wants you to see him as your hero. They want us to know that they can take care of us. They want us to be able to rest in that. For the most part, most men want you to win. Hi, Nicole. How are you, beautiful? And so I just want you guys to really start thinking about some of these things. The next thing is drinking or substance abuse. Most men who are dealing with depression begin to drink a lot, more than normal, not just having a cocktail or a beer here and there, but that becomes their way to escape. And if somebody is either drinking too much or using drugs to escape, that is a huge red flag for discussion. And it is a huge red flag that they're dealing with depression. And so the thing is that I understand you're dealing with a grown man. I understand that you're not his mother. I understand all of those things. But if you're aware, at least have these tools, and they might not be suffering from all of these at one time. It could be a progression. It could be something that is, he started here, but now he's added that, or he started here and now he's drinking, and he went from drinking to smoking weed, and it's just became this progression. And it might not happen quickly. It could be happening, and you're like, oh, we're past that, now this is happening. Oh, we got past that, now this is happening. But depression is ongoing unless you are able to identify the root cause of it, nip that in the bud, and then you're able to move forward. The last thing that I'm going to give you before I start giving you stuff to really start to help your husband is sexual dysfunction. If he is most men are sexual beings. Most of them, you could have intense fellowship and 5 minutes later, they trying to get in your panties, right? And if he is to the point where he is not desiring sex from you, if he's to the point where if he is desiring sex for you and he's suffering from erectile dysfunction, those are huge signs of depression. Not saying that that's the only reason why, but a depression has a huge part of ED, erectile dysfunction, and so that is a huge one, because most men's libidos are really high for the most part. Now there are some women that can match them and whoop to you, but for the most part, men's libidos are really high. But when they're suffering from depression, it drops tremendously. And so that is another sign. If they're not desiring to have sex with you or whatever, and it's not you, all of those things that we process in our brain, maybe I'm not attracted to him or whatever, it could be all of the a combination of things. It could be one thing. It could be, all the stuff that I talked about, and it's just been ebbs and flows, and you just haven't been on the journey with him because you have other things that are going on. So I'm going to go over the signs again, and then I'm going to really help you help your husband. The first thing is either sleeping too much or not enough. The second thing is complaining of stomach aches or back aches, which will lead to headaches. The third thing is irritability, just irritable, just irritated about everything about life. He don't see nothing, everything just negative. The next thing is anger or hostility. The fifth thing is stress or grinding of the teeth while they're asleep. The sixth thing is anxiety. The seventh thing is drinking or substance abuse. And the eighth thing is sexual dysfunction or dealing with erectile dysfunction. She says, it takes a lot for a husband to admit to his wife when he's depressed. Yes, it is really, really true. It does take a lot for men to just admit that they're sick, right? And so let me give you some tools and strategies to really try to help you have that discussion if you're feeling that your husband is dealing with depression. The first thing don't do is go say, I know you're depressed because I heard Gail on Wife Chat and she said you have 5 of these signs, so you depressed. Please don't do that, and don't put that on me. Okay. So the first thing is that you don't put that on me. The thing is that you have to know the times to be able to have a conversation with your husband. And I always say a time to have a difficult situation is even worse. So the first thing is that you should be talking to your spouse on a regular basis anyway. And so the thing is if you're noticing that your husband is sleeping a whole lot, you can just ask him, honey, hey, is like, do you need me to, give you a massage, or, are you stressed or whatever? Because I noticed that you just been sleeping so much, and are you not feeling good? Because you want to go with him like as if you're concerned, not accusing. It's two different things to go to someone and say, I'm really concerned. I just noticed you've been sleeping a whole lot. Then to say, I know you're depressed and you need to get up from there and go see the doctor. Two different conversations, and you're not going to win with that. So first thing is show concern. The second thing is ask the question, don't accuse. Say, honey, I just noticed that, is there something going on at work? Is there something going on, are you not feeling good because you've been just very, short, and I just want to know, did I do something? Did I say something? Or whatever. Just, make it an easy conversation and not an accusatory conversation. Because again, trying to get men to the hospital is not easy, or to the doctor is not easy in the first place. And you want to approach this as you're there to support them, but not there to mother them and not there to irritate them. Because it's something already going on with them, and you don't want to become part of the problem. I hope I'm making sense. And so the last thing I want to leave you with is pray over your husband. Pray that God reveals to you what is going on with him. Pray that God gives you the wisdom to get him the help that he needs. Because a lot of times they will come out on their own, right? And clinically studies that 60% of people are able to handle depression, whatever stage that they're in, for the most part, and come out on their own. But then there's that other percentage, that other 40%, where they need some type of intervention. And I was looking at different studies, and some studies say that if somebody's dealing with depression more than 6 to 8 weeks and they're not coming out, then they do need to go seek some further help, right? But that is not like a confirmed study, but I just keep hearing that 6 to 8 week period of time. And so kind of just monitor where your husband is, kind of monitor if he stays in, you know, if it continues to progress or it begins to subside. Because again, everybody deals with some form of depression. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are, and don't tell me you've never dealt with it. You might not just been able to call it that because you might have only had it for 1 day, 1 hour, 15 minutes. But everybody has dealt with some type of form of depression, and you know when you're in it. Some people just have the ability to come out. Some people are able to talk to someone and they make them laugh and they come out. Some people have, you know, different techniques where they go to the gym and they feel better and they come out. It just kind of depends, but everybody has suffered with it. And most of the time, men just hide it better because they don't talk about it. It's just displayed in a whole different way. And so, again, I want to thank you guys so much for jumping on here. Never be ashamed, yes, to cover your husband in prayer. That is true, because prayer can change things. Prayer can truly, truly change things. So prayer is a weapon. But again, if you have to have the conversation if this continues, but also always go in there with a supportive voice, a supportive thing, solutions. It could be, let's go work out. You know, I'm feeling sluggish. I notice you've been sleeping a lot. You know, exercise give us a boost of energy. Let's make that happen. Maybe you initiate sex instead of always waiting for him to initiate sex. You know, give him a massage, encourage him, run him bath water, do something to see if you can start the progression of bringing him out, because these signs are real. Depression is real, right? And we need to really start noticing when our husbands are depressed, because a lot of times we can help them out of that, because remember, you was designed to help him. You know, whether you think you're equipped or not, you was designed to help him. And when you said I do, God gave you everything that you need to satisfy and to help your husband become the best man that God would have him to become. So that's true. Typically, if it doesn't, it's a good idea to seek help. You're 100% correct, Nicole. And again, I'm going to be on here every single Tuesday at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And if you have any topics you want me to cover, you can either hit me up on here in a private message, hit me up on my website, and I will be here to definitely cover it. Yeah, it is real. Yes, depression is really, really real. And there are some people that are clinically depressed that sometimes can't even get out of bed, and they have to seek professional help. Again, I love you guys to pieces. I will be releasing my book in late June or early July. It's called Praying for the Penis, and it's a wife guide to understanding her husband's sexual health. Because again, in my practice, I get a chance to coach so many women and men that are just distraught over their sexual health. And so I really want to give us a guide to be able to move past this. Thursdays are out now. Yes, Thursdays are out. Thursdays, I usually do Wife Masterclass. I won't be starting Wife Masterclass until the fall. So we'll have Wife Masterclass in the fall. But Tuesday is Tuesday Wife Chat, where I'm an open book. I will cover any topics that you want me to cover on here. And I will answer any question that I can answer. And if I can't answer it, I'll do the research and I'll get you the answer. But again, I love you guys so much, and thank you so much for joining me tonight on Wife Chat. Again, if you have any personal questions, you have anything you want me to answer or whatever, if you don't want to post it on the feed, because I always go back and read the feed because it's kind of hard to teach and read the feed, I will definitely come back and answer your question. If you have a personal question, you can definitely, hit me up on here and I will answer it. If you want a free 30-minute consultation with me, hit me up on my website. All you got to do is go to gailcrowder.com, scroll all the way to the bottom, and it says book time with Gail, and you can choose your time. and I would love to talk with you. And again, good night, and you guys have an amazing day. Thank you so much for joining me here on Wife Chat. Make sure you spread the word that Wife Chat is going down every single Tuesday. And again, if you want a topic to chat about, I will be happy to do it. Just send it to me. I love you guys to pieces. Have a wonderful, wonderful night.